Welcome back to some new r/PettyRevenge stories, where people share small victories over those who wronged them. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Neighbor Wars. I live in a decent neighborhood. Lots of lakes and big trees. Good sized lots. Even without an HOA, people maintain their property to reasonable standards. Then there are those for whom reasonable is not good enough. Any deviation is a problem. Meet neighbor 1, who bought a foreclosure house and spent a huge amount on renovations and landscaping. His yard is immaculate. He lives next to neighbor 2, who is less stringent but fine. 1 had a hissy fit when he found out that 2 was the decoration house. It's spectacular. Halloween and Christmas draw crowds with people coming into one's yard to get selfies. A petty war begins, with a comical amount of "no trespassing" and "please don't park on the grass" signs. The next Christmas, 2's inflatables are slashed in the middle of the night by a group of kids in hoodies. 2 blames 1 for arranging the hit on Santa and his friends. 1 gets a couple of little dogs. 2 accuses him of purposely having them crap in his yard and puts up several of those obnoxious "please pick up after your dog" signs. The following week, hundreds of identical green poop bags, filled and neatly tied, appear on 2's yard. It's now poop bags in Florida. Now the sprinkler wars have begun when either party has a gathering. It's amusing for now. I hope it doesn't escalate. The next story is called Jerk Neighbor. Several years ago, my father-in-law was on a downward slide health rise, so the wife, I, and 2 kids moved into his house to remodel it and help take care of him. The house had been gutted by fire about 20 years before and sat in a state of "we'll get to it," as he lived in the mother-in-law apartment attached to it. One of the first days I was there, the neighbor came up to me and started talking bad. He thought I was the contractor, and he was basically telling me the people here can't afford to pay me. I let it slide and didn't correct him. I was after all doing the work, but after a few weeks he saw me leaving for work and figured it out. I had a large dumpster brought in and put on the lawn, as many do when doing a remodel. The lady I dealt with to get it called me about an after it had been dropped off, to say there had already been someone calling them to complain about it, but things were all handled properly. It was only there a week and picked up on the next trash cycle, but she still received a call a day. During this time, I found his old recycling containers had been thrown over the fence, with trash in it, about a year or 2 before. So this jerk has been throwing trash into his sick elderly neighbor's yard for who knows how long. And now it's my mess to deal with. Having had worse neighbors, I just put it all in the dumpster. I finished the remodel, cleaned up the yard, and even made a spot where I could pull an old pickup and restore it with my father-in-law as a guide. 2 days after the truck showed up, city enforcement came by regarding a complaint about the truck being on an unimproved surface. So I improved the surface by adding gravel. They then came out a week or 2 later to make sure I had made the improvements. When the code enforcement officer let slip that the grumpy guy next door must really have it out for you, I realized I'd had enough. I copied his business name and address off of his truck. I went and got a $25 Visa gift card and set it up to donate $1 a month in his name, with home address and business name and address attached to it, to the Church of Scientology. Sure, I was giving some money to them, but I felt it was worth it. Now, I have no way of telling how well it worked, but he's moved since then. The new neighbor is super nice, and she has asked about the previous people, as she had gotten a couple of weird magazines and newsletters for the previous owners. I hope they still have his business address. The third story is called Building Permission. My dad lives in an old farmer's house. Dad, unfortunately, does not have a window in the bathroom, so my dad wanted to cut a hole in the wall and put one in, for obvious reasons. Now, if you want to add a window that points directly to the property of someone else, you have to ask the person who owns that property, in our country at least. Since the window would only let us see their driveway, and we would have put frosted glass there anyway, we figured it wouldn't be a problem. My dad went over and asked nicely for their permission. They absolutely blew at him. Under no circumstances would they allow this. And they even called our building authority to tell them what my dad asked, and that they want the authority to check on him in case he put it there anyway. We still don't have a window in our bathroom to this very day. A few months after all that, the same neighbor suddenly stands in front of our door, telling us that he would like to build a carport in his driveway, asking if it would be okay with us, since he would have to connect said carport to our house. My dad looked at them in disbelief for like 5 seconds, then laughed, told them no, and shut the door. We ended up putting a ventilator in the bathroom to suck the stink out. Their cars are still exposed to wind and weather. The last story is called Returning the Garbage. I worked at a lumber company in a somewhat questionable area of a city. Our properties were split on the corners of 4 blocks, so we often had to cross streets to get around. On the border of 2 of our yards were a series of apartments, with more apartments beyond that. We had a paper recycling dumpster outside our warehouse that someone started filling with bags of trash, 1 or 2 a week, which I emptied out and threw away. It was annoying and wasn't worth my time doing anything about, until the Monday I came in and the recycling dumpster was packed full of garbage. There was something like a dozen or so large contractor type cleanup bags filled. That was it for me. I spent the next hour pulling the bags out and going through the contents. I found what I was hoping for: personal information. I found a utility bill with a name and address. It was 2 blocks away, an apartment. I walked down there to check it out. It was a 2nd floor unit with a balcony in front of the door. Nobody was home, or at least they didn't answer the door when I knocked. I walked back to work, got a pallet, and loaded all of the refilled garbage bags back onto it, and shrink wrapped the whole thing for stability. Got on a forklift, grabbed a coworker, and we drove down to the apartment. Up the pallet ran to the 2nd floor. We climbed the steps and unloaded all of the bags onto the small landing, effectively blocking someone from getting in or out easily. Never did hear anything about that from anyone. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. And now, I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.